Celtics fans, we are still behind Knicks Now by Chat Sports. We're trying to catch our New York Knicks channel. Go down and subscribe. Let's pass them by the end of the week. I am Will Scott. Welcome in to Celtics Today by Chat Sports. On today's show, we're going to be talking about some options for the Boston Celtics after the Danilo Gallinari torn meniscus. He is definitely going to miss some time. The question is, how much time? He's going to have a couple different options on his recovery after tearing his meniscus in Saturday's World Cup qualifying game. Now, he's dealt with some knee injuries before, including an ACL tear in 2013. And I think when we all saw the video and the photos on Saturday, we were thinking this was probably going to be a very significant knee injury, a season-ending knee injury. Luckily, we're not looking at that, but he's probably still going to miss some time. He's got some different options. Could go the surgery route or maybe not. Here's what Robb of MassLive said about the situation. A torn meniscus is the same injury that Celtics big man Robert Williams suffered back in March. He ultimately returned to action 4 weeks later with a minutes limit after undergoing a surgical trim to remove part of the meniscus. The other surgical option would be repairing the meniscus. That procedure would be a longer recovery timetable, likely sidelining Gallinari for a significant chunk of the regular season. Former Celtic Daniel Theis had that procedure performed back in 2018 after he suffered a meniscus tear. It's also possible that surgery won't be needed altogether, and Gallo opts for rest and rehab in his recovery. So it's ultimately going to come down to what Danilo wants to do, right? He's kind of getting up there in age, so this is a pretty big decision in terms of what he's going to do. He could have a minor surgery or more major surgery or no surgery at all. So those are his options. He could just go the rehab route, no surgery. Minor surgery would be what Robert Williams III had last year. That's having part of the meniscus removed, likely meaning a 1 to 2 month recovery for Gallo. Or a complete repair of the meniscus, a more major surgery that could sideline him for a long time. He would miss a pretty big chunk of the regular season. So I want to ask y'all, do you think Gallo is going to miss the start of the season? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Down in the comments section, go down, predict it. How much time is he going to miss? Is he going to be back by the season opener against the 76ers? So we just talked about Gallo's options. Now let's talk about the Celtics options in terms of what to do here. Number one, they could do nothing. Right? They could do nothing, and they might opt to do that if it is a short recovery timetable for Gallo, if he's going to be back by the regular season, because you look at the Celtics power forwards, and this just includes players on guaranteed contracts, so that is why Vonleh and Caboclo are not on this list. But you have Horford, Grant Williams, Sam Hauser. Grant Williams is going to play a lot anyway, as well as Horford, but maybe this means Sam Hauser kind of has an increased role on this team in the time that Danilo Gallinari is out. So that is the first option for the Celtics. We're going to talk about other options in a second, but first, go down, take advantage of this great deal we're giving you on this Boston Celtics polo. You can go pick it up, chatsports.com/Celtics polo. That link in the comments and the description, on sale for a limited time. Go and take advantage. The second Celtics option is going out and signing a free agent to replace Gallinari in the time that he misses. And there's still some notable names certainly on the board here. The first we're going to talk about is Carmelo Anthony, because Celtics blog by SB Nation brings up Carmelo Anthony as an option for the Celtics, linking Anthony to Boston. Not the first time this offseason that we have seen Melo linked to the Celtics. Here's what Celtics blog said about that. Carmelo Anthony is the free agent who can most immediately replace what Boston will miss while Gallinari is out. Anthony can still score off the bounce and can still hurt mismatches on post-ups. Anthony isn't quite as reliable as Gallinari as a shooter, but he's not a bad one either. Defensively, Anthony is probably on par with Gallinari. Neither is being paid to defend anyone. Both are the guys the coaching staff will scheme around and help. On the plus side, Anthony remains a pretty solid defensive rebounder. Now, before I get into my thoughts about Melo, I want to hear from y'all. Do you want the Celtics to sign Carmelo Anthony? Do you want to bring Melo to Beantown? Type S for sign or type P for pass down in the comments. It is the pinned comment on today's video. So when ad break comes, go down, take advantage, chime in, type S or type P. I'm all for this. I really want to bring Melo to Boston. I think he'd be a good fit on this team. And yeah, he's getting up there in age, but he's still a really solid player. Put up pretty good numbers with the Lakers last season, over 13 points per game, shot 37.5% from three-point range. I think exceeded pretty much everyone's expectations with what he did in LA. It was a bright spot on a Lakers team that had a pretty disappointing season. Look, I think Carmelo deserves a ring. I want to see him get a ring. And admittedly, I'm a little bit biased. I went to Syracuse University, so of course I'm going to root for Carmelo. But the Celtics can provide him with maybe the best chance he's ever had to win a ring. Last season, he went to LA with the expectation that the Lakers were going to be a championship contender. They were far from it. But if he signs with Boston, he's going to be signing with the team that are the betting favorites to win the NBA championship next season, a team that was in the NBA Finals just this past summer. So I would love to see Melo in Boston. I think he'd be a good fit. I think he'd be a good replacement for Gallo. If Gallo misses some time, I'm all for bringing Carmelo Anthony to Boston. Jake Layman is another name to monitor here. He is a local guy from Norwood, Massachusetts. Played high school ball in the Boston area. 34 games played with the Timberwolves last season. Has a lot of experience, nearly 250 career NBA games played. Let's talk about some other guys, too, because Josh Jackson is available in free agency. Spent last season with the Kings and the Pistons. 4th overall pick in the 2017 NBA draft. And Jabari Parker going to be a pretty big name that's still out there as well. Now, he's been waived by Boston a few times already. 22 games played the last 2 years with Boston. Here's what he's done in his time with the Seas. 11.4 minutes per game, 5.3 points per game, 2.9 rebounds per game, shot over 51%. So, look, I mean, he's not putting up the numbers he was earlier in his career with Milwaukee. He's been a little bit disappointing for the, former 2nd overall pick, but a solid player, and it might make some sense to bring him in. Let's say if Gallo misses like a month, might make some sense to bring him in as a short-term replacement for Danilo Gallinari. Do you want to bring back Jabari Parker? Type B for bring back or type D for don't. Down in the comments section, go down, sound off. Do you want to bring Jabari Parker back to the Celtics? Another option this team has, elevate a training camp signing. You brought in Noah Vonleh. You have brought in Bruno Caboclo as well as camp signings. Both of those guys can play the 4 decently well. Now, Caboclo signed a training camp deal with the Celtics a few weeks back after a really solid showing in Brazil. He was the MVP of the Brazilian MBB League, putting up these numbers, fantastic numbers, 23.9 points per game, over 11 rebounds per game, 3.6 blocks per game, 63.6% from the floor over in Sao Paulo, a Sao Paulo basketball club. Now, Noah Vonleh signed a training camp deal as well, 9th overall pick in 2014. Funny enough, Caboclo and Vonleh actually both first-round picks in that draft. Vonleh, a Salem native, he's coming home to play for Boston. Here's what he did with the Shanghai Sharks last season. 15 points per game, nearly 10 rebounds per game. And then you look at blocks per game. He was a really solid defender, and Hardwood Houdini mentions that as well. Now, defensively, he presents a matchup nightmare for the opposing offenses and adds an additional weapon to Beantown's stingy defensive identity. With his length and solid frame, at 6'11", he can guard up to 3 positions defensively in a defense that likes to switch 1 through 5. He is no stranger to taking quicker players on the perimeter and holding his ground. Add in the motivation of getting to play for his hometown in his own background. This may be the make and second wind the Indiana product needed. He will come to training camp, see it all unfolds. Noah Vonleh viewed as a strong horse in this race for the backup 5 spot. Now, I feel like the number 3 option is the most likely. So the 3 options we discussed, number 1, just do nothing. Number 2, sign a free agent. Or number 3, elevate a training camp signing to the active roster. Right now, the C's have 12 players that are on guaranteed deals. They have 3 open roster spots. And if Gallo can't go for the start of the regular season, I can just about promise you one of those remaining 3 spots going to go to Vonleh or Caboclo. Thanks for watching this edition of Boston Celtics Today. Go down, subscribe. It's the best way to stay in the loop with Boston Celtics news.